public hearing, we need a motion to open the public hearing for the 24-25 budget.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody have any questions or comments on the budget?
Yeah, can you convince me how it should go up 13%?
Basically, it's
I know we all
it's kind of confusing.
I understand we have money hidden in different departments here and there for emergencies, but 13%?
The 13% is because your assessments went up on all the properties,
Yeah.
and that's what caused us to go over the tax cap.
My assessment went up, so it means that you have to go up.
We
You're
didn't.
already going to get the money just on the rate of
The key
the
changes because the
increase.
assessment went up. I mean, we're not raising taxes. The taxes is the same as it was last year,
The rate.
the rate.
But you're spending 13% more than you spent last year.
But the other thing is, look at our expenses.
That's the
Health insurance, retirement, all that stuff is going up. And the only place the village has to raise money is through our tax base. Now, if you take the county, for example, not only do they get funding from their tax base, they got sales tax money, they got pilot money, and the same with the town. They also get pilot money. The village gets no pilot money. We get no sales tax. The only revenue that we have to keep our operations going and to keep you with all your yard waste pickup and all that stuff, your streets plowed, sanded properly, the only way we have to pay for any of that is through the tax base, and we have nothing extra than the property tax.
But the town uses fund balance that.
I mean, if we had income from other sources, we could probably do something different.
One of the things, Rick, that we have in the budget this year, we didn't have last year's, we've put aside, we were putting $55,000 in for a new truck that we've got to have. We've also, the health insurance went up about 20% in January. As you learned yesterday, the county's health insurance went up 26%. It's the beast of the times. So those are two things that hit us and hit us hard. What you're trying to say is, if we could have kept everything the same, because we're up about 200,000.
No, I understand.
The key would have went down.
I understand it would not be the same. I was expecting maybe up to 6% max. But then I started looking at, wait a minute, if our assessment, and Henry, you will attest that your assessment went up, correct?
It went up.
And you own a lot more property than me,
Yeah.
that I know my assessment went up quite a good chunk.
Mine
So
did last year.
you're looking at people's assessment go up. What was going to be the estimated increase of income you were going to get because of the increase in all our assessments to 100%?
Well, let's say we were at 100%. Then the key.
Oh, no.
No, let's say we were.
Oh, we were.
No, let's say we were. I'm not arguing that. Let's say we were, and we needed 200,000 more. We would have had to raise the key, okay? 2 years ago, they did an assessed value, and most of ours went up, and those that didn't, I think, went up this time. And I'm learning now that the state has come back and said, we're not even at 100% now. We're at, I think, what did they say, Joe, 93%?
I think we're at about 93, and talking with Aaron.
So we're looking at
Eventually,
another
we're gonna have to
assessment.
do another reassessment.
Aaron did some begging and teasing and I think got us up to 95.
Is it now 95?
But
But
being that we're at 95, if we keep kicking the can down the road, town, village, whoever have you, we're gonna be in real trouble. And then you will have a complaint.
We're going to be what? What'd you say?
I think
Roll
Aaron,
trouble?
we will be in trouble.
Oh, trouble. I think they said roll trouble.
No, real trouble is what I said.
Yeah.
You know, so we're talking about, I don't know if it's gonna happen, we'll decide later this year, but we might do another reval in yeah, where are we at now? 24, 25? Because we gotta stay close, you know?
Most of this stuff, unfortunately, is fixed costs.
It is, it
And
is.
if you look at our police department, which I want to keep and have, our police department has stayed pretty darn steady. And I took my figures, it's 22% of our budget. So for me personally, to have police protection, that was $278 a year, which is 75 cents a day. For the fire department, it's 38 cents a day. So I have fire protection for 38 cents a day. Pretty good bargain in my eyes. Do I like the fact that we're going up 13%? No. Do I realize we've got fuel oil, that's going up. If you grab a copy of this, you're gonna see that we stayed where we could. Everything's, fixed costs. And when you're working on a small budget of $2 million, it don't take long when health insurance goes up 21%, 23%, excuse me. I think we were 23%. And you'll see it reflected in the budget if you look at it.
Plus, the other thing we're trying to do is pave our streets, do drainage on our streets where we can.
Isn't that also underneath a lot of the grant money that you picked up on that? What you're doing with
That was
the streets?
no, that was the 5 streets. And actually the 5 streets was just 19.8 million, and out of that 19.8 million, 10 of it was grant money, and the rest of it was low interest loans that we're paying off right now.
On Church Street, right?
And we're paying off loans on the water system and also on the sewer system, on the upgrades. We did get some grant money for both of them, but they didn't cover it at 100%.
We got some huge issues on Church Street that you want to.
But I mean, just to give you an idea, we did some drainage work up on Stewart Street, up by the hospital. There was a whole bunch of new drainage put in over on Jackson Street. And then if you looked at our budget this year, there's 55,000 in there because we're looking at doing drainage over on Church Street before we pave it, because it doesn't make sense to go in and pave some of these streets until we fix the drainage problems that they got. So I mean, in order to keep all these projects going, we're kind of limited on what. And the other
It
thing,
just seems to me that you would have an estimated gain of income because of the tax raise that we all suffered. That you would have, okay, this is going to be a gain of X number of dollars over what we possibly could have got in last year. So that, if you've got that amount of extra income you're looking at coming in, would make your budgeting a little bit easier because, all right, here's what we could possibly have. Let's take 80% of it. That's our increase. Here's what we would have towards a budget for this coming year. And then we would look at where your increases are going to come. Like instance, I tried to go line by line by it at home, but one that kind of jumped to me was, I believe it's in the electrical section where you had a 45,000 budget for street lighting and it went to 63,000 for this coming budget. Yet you're not going to, you're not going to meet the budget that you had for this year.
that 45,000, I'd have to go back through budgets, but we've always budgeted between 60 and 63,000 for streetlights.
That one line item was 45,000.
That might be what we spent.
And you're not
That might
going
be
to
what we
make
spent
that.
today. But another thing is retirement. Retirement that we're mandated to pay in the state of New York has skyrocketed. I mean, I'd have to look, but I know we're paying probably close to 200,000 a year in just the police and
It's the bottom
DPW.
line, Tim, you can see it in that bottom section.
Employee benefits went from 584 to 627 for an increase of $43,160. I broke that out. So there's 43,000 of the 200 right there. Fixed costs, nothing we can do about it, other than lay off staff. And I don't think that we're burdened and overloaded with staff. But we've got, when I was mayor, we had 13 full-time, Paul's not here, full-time employees in the DPW, and I think we're down to about 10 or 11 right now. And we were, I think, at 8 at one point, so that's a hit. What else did I have that I wanted to say?
Well, in a nutshell, I just feel that 13% is too high, especially with the increase that you voiced yourselves with insurance and everything else that the taxpayers are trying to meet. Which brings me to the sewer and water. How much is that going up this year? It was projected at 3%. Is that staying there?
For the average homeowner, it's probably gonna be somewhere in the area of $2.36 to.
No, I said, is it
36
gonna be
months.
3% is what you're looking at? 3% water, 3%
No,
sewer?
we're 3% sewer only. Water's not going up at all. But there again, give everybody, they like to be able to flush the toilet and have a good home. In order to keep the system up, it costs money.
Well, I can only push
Just-
my
just-
wallet so much.
Yeah, but I mean,
You keep raising
I
taxes.
wish Paul was here and Colin, because they would tell you what it's costing for chemicals and things. The prices have just gone up crazy.
So we're using
I mean,
well
you should know
water now,
yourself,
so that doesn't
if you
use
do any
so much
grocery shopping,
chemicals, Joe.
what it costs you to buy food now. I mean, it's a tight budget. I don't care, Dick. We're not going crazy on anything.
If we wanted to, we could kick the can down the road. We could remove the.
I mean, I could go in there and start making cuts, and one of the things I would cut, and I know my phone will ring right off the hook, is if we cut brush pickup, all the grass clippings and everything we pick up all summer long, we did cut that one year, and it saved us 30-some thousand on that one, and we cut a few other places, and our phones rang right off the hook, because we weren't coming out picking up your grass and your brush.
I don't say we need an austerity budget, but I think it's just too high, the increase that you're going to pass.
We could kick the can down the road and we could remove the capital outlay of 50,
How was that?
55,000 for what we planned on using for Church Street, if we wanted to do that, but
It's gonna cost more later.
I mean,
And
that's gonna reduce, well, that's 1/4 of the raise, so take 4%, 25% off 13%, now you're down a little under 10, and then you could decide, you could eliminate maybe a few other things and bring it down, but how much do you wanna cut to the bone is what you have to decide. We attended a rec meeting the other night, and somebody else besides myself, without my knowledge, pushed for the county to share sales tax revenue. The county as a whole, Dick, and thank you and the village taxpayers for funding a police department that assists the county, because you also pay for a county and a state police department that they have, that we aren't required to have a police department. I want a police department. If we took that away, it's 22% of our budget. For me, 75 cents a day. Don't want to do it. But that's about the only place that we could do anything that would save us any kind of money. Or like I said, I don't have a problem if we want to knock this 50,000 out for the street capital outlay. You're just kicking the can down the road.
Are you talking about 5110?
Yes,
That's
that's a truck, isn't it?
that's a truck.
I'm talking. What's the other one? That's 51st, Stowe Street. That's also about 50, correct?
Church Street.
Church Street.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're about the same. That's what I meant.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But we could do away with both. We could, and there's 100,000. But I suspect with what Paul has done, and I didn't bring my capital list tonight, our equipment's aging too.
But I will tell you this too, you talked about different drainage projects and things. By the village taking these projects on ourselves and working with, say, maybe a local contractor, we are saving the village money. just to give you an example, the new culvert that was put in last fall down there on East State Street, right ahead of, before you turn on Maple Ave, the estimate for that was $225,000 to do that project. The village worked with a subcontractor, local subcontractor, and we did that for less than $80,000. So right there, I figured we got a savings of almost $125,000, $130,000. Where if we'd had to contracted it out, so. And we did the project ourselves on Jackson Street. That was listed at over $200,000. We did that for $66,000. So we are trying to use your money diligently.
Oh, I'm not saying you're not using the money diligently. I'm just saying that when you've got extra income coming in from what you've done as far as having to raise the
But if we had extra income,
assessment values of everybody.
we still have to put it into a fund balance.
Can I finish? I could have, looked at it a little bit differently maybe than you did as far as trying to figure out what the budget would be, because I worked on budgets before. Lions Falls and the paper mill, Fort Drum, our budget's down there, and in the village fire department here. So I understand about budgets, and I was an accountant at one time, so I understand about counting and slush funds here and there. But I understand that maybe it could have been a little bit less than what you're increasing us. And that's all I'll say.
Dick, I appreciate you taking the time to go through all this. When you did this, and looking at this, is there anything that you would suggest that maybe we should consider eliminating the truck or on Church Street or what have you? Because you've raised good issues, and my remark would be, what would you like to see, or what would you think we should do to cut? Because
that would be something that Dan, you and I, or the board would have to look at.
There's a couple things in here right now I wouldn't have any problem cutting. But, like I said before, we're beating a dead horse on that. We'd be kicking the can down the road. It's going to get tougher and tougher. This conversation we're having tonight is not going to get easier. I went to the legislators meeting last night, and Mr. Dahlhaus' final remarks on the health insurance when they raised it 26.6%. He said, "This is painful." The vote was 6-4, 6-2 with 2 abstentions, and they've really, in some ways, had no choice. I don't know schematically if there's things that they could do better. I'm going to suggest to this board as we move along that again this year we look at somebody to bring in, but then you got to deal with the unions when it comes to health insurance, because the 21% increase when we're raising 13. Well, there you go. We're 8 behind the 8 ball on that issue if you want percentage versus percentage. But
Well, the health insurance, everybody's behind the 8 ball on that.
it's not
Doesn't
going to
matter if it's a county, village, or federal.
Yeah, and like it took a huge hit.
And it's just gonna keep going up though. I mean, if it was gonna level off, you'd be okay, but health insurance, it's just a fact, isn't it?
I'm an insurance agent, and I'm convinced, whether people want to hear it or not, that we seriously as a country need to look at a national health care plan, because there's too many fingers playing in the health insurance industry. Pharmaceuticals, insurance companies, lobbyists, and we as a people are allowing that to happen. It's that simple.
Anybody else have anything on the budget?
So how much, I know there's some reserve fund being used,
How much left?
reserve funds, how much is being used, how much does that leave in the reserve budget?
We're
And
using 130,
On the last page.
I think 31,112.
131, 112
okay, and then
out of reserves.
from a reserve budget standpoint, does help me to understand, does that grow at all? Or does that just, if we keep using that, is that gonna be gone in 20 years? Or how does that work?
How
So,
much we use.
right, and that's what I'm wondering, like, does it grow or does
I
it?
mean, obviously, we could have raised we could have raised it 15% and not had to use any of our reserve money.
Yeah.
But 13's
I'll
too
put it
high.
this way,
How would we,
It's
what would
growing
the
better
reaction
than it
been
did,
there?
because we've reinvested
Right.
it to get a better interest rate. But
Well,
yes,
that's what the only reason I'm asking, so even like with the fire department, for example, we bought that new truck, we took money out of our reserve fund. Even after taking a large chunk, we only lost, like I think we took 150, I don't know the exact number, say we took 150,000 out of it. We only lost 80,000 on the account, so that means we gained 70,000 last year. So how much are we gaining on that in a year as well? Just from a numbers standpoint, like what's the average? What do we gain? If you didn't take anything out of the account, what would you gain in that account?
close to 40,000.
Okay, so in the long run, I mean, really the way it's going, the reserve fund will dry
I mean, it
up.
hadn't been that way. It wasn't making anything, in fact.
Right, yeah, I know they changed some of that where you can make more
Moved money
now.
around, and now it's making us about 40,000.
So, but in the long-term scheme of things, since, I mean, obviously expenses aren't gonna go down, your tax rate will fluctuate, however, the reality is that fund will dry up before, I mean, it's not ever making more than we're taking out of it.
But
Correct.
this year,
This year.
we don't always.
I mean, it didn't last year either, like, cause last year I think we took 200,000.
I'm not saying it couldn't drop,
Right.
it could.
Right, I'm just trying to think of it from that standpoint, because I know sometimes people say use the reserve fund to offset it, well, at the same time, the reserve fund, if you're using it to offset your normal expenses, what happens when you have that emergency expense, so.
But look at the fire truck, Joe, you were talking about a while ago.
Right.
Look at the cost of that now
Yeah.
compared to what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, it's gone up a lot, hasn't it?
yeah, I mean, even just using the truck we didn't buy, but the engine we bought in 2007 was 480,000, and today that would have been $1 million, that same exact truck, so. It's, yeah.
We're faced with the same thing when we try to replace equipment on the village. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not,
you
yeah,
don't let it
I'm,
go so long that you don't get anything for it, but yet you gotta keep replacing stuff.
I had the same issue, Joe, when I met with the fire department.
right,
You know, you know you need it. Why couldn't you ease us up to that point?
Right.
But it just doesn't work that way.
And then when you get all done with I don't know how the village works, but like with the town, you know, we adopt a budget and it's all good until the comptroller gets his hands on it and you didn't use enough fund balance and your tax levy isn't right and, you know, it's a big formula that you have to deal with, but it's a tough scenario, you know.
One last thing, Joe, and like the fire department, Joe, well in line. I don't have a problem with what we're allocating for, but we threw 10,000 more in this year than last year, basically for the roof issue.
We gotta do some work on the roof up there.
So the fire department went from, and if they didn't do fundraising, thank God for them doing that, we'd have to, everybody'd have to pay more. And I've always felt that the fire department shouldn't have to do fundraising, their job is to take care of us. But I think because they enjoy doing it, it's good. So for the fire department, we went from 66,000 to 84,100. And you have guys, other towns come in and beat you up over a couple thousand. And I think that's absurd that they do that. So, thanks, Joe.
And along the same line, we're talking about working on the roof, but also the parking lot needs it. And you can't do everything in 1 year, so that would have, if we tried to do the roof and the parking lot this year, it would have been more than your 19%.
What, Paul, give us a rough figure of about 150,000 for the parking lot?
And that needs it too, but you got a trade-off. Which one are you gonna work on this year? The roof that's leaking or the parking lot that's?
I think the roof is
Right.
the main important one right now,
It is.
before it gets any worse. Okay, appointments. Deputy
Where did
Mayor,
we come out with? We haven't come out of executive session, we're in public hearing yet.
What?
We haven't come out of
It's
public.
still
hearing.
open.
No, let's leave the public hearing open.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'd like to appoint Deputy Mayor Dan Salmon. You need motions on these, Wendy?
I'll make a motion, we
Um,
appoint Dan.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Deputy Clerk Wendy Snowden.
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Village Historian Charlotte Beagle.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so,
Joe? Abstain?
yeah, abstain on that one.
Yeah, probably.
Committees, not committees, but under that appointment, there's one that got left off. That was health officer. And that's these that we just did, Dan, Wendy, and Charlotte are all one-year appointments. But the health officer is a 4-year. And I'd like to reappoint Danny Manning. And her term would run to 4/5/28.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're down to committees. Capital and Future Planning, Dan and Tony. I'll make a motion for that.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Personnel, Chuck and Dan.
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion, we make that appointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Finance, Tim and Chuck.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're down to liaisons, Fire Department. Tony,
I'll make the motion.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Police Department, Tim.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Planning Board and Zoning Board, Tony.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Municipal Board, Chuck.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And Chuck's wants lots of punishment. He wanted to stay on the town, so we need a motion to keep
I'll
Chuck
make a
on the
motion.
town.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to make the statement that it's fun throwing them under the bus once in a while.
You what?
It's fun throwing them under the bus once in a while.
And that he does.
There's
And that he does.
He does.
Okay, County, Tim.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and it's not on your, well, I guess I got an old one here. We really should have somebody on the Recreation Board. So Dan said he'd like to be on that, so
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And the RACO Board, does you and Tim still want to be on that?
Me and Tony were.
It's,
Yeah.
okay. You still want to be on that one?
Sure.
Okay, Tim and Tony then.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we need a motion, official undertakings, action to authorize appropriate insurance coverage and bonding for relevant municipal officials.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our official newspaper, daily publications, and the Watertown Daily Times.
I make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Notification of regular meetings. Regular meetings of the Board of Trustees will be on the third Wednesday of each month at 4 p.m. Location for meetings will be at the Village Municipal Building.
Do we want to discuss that at all? Do we want to leave that time the way it is? Do we want to make it later in the day for the public? I've had a few people bring that up, so just throwing it out there. I've given it some thought. I think anything works, but you know, we represent the public, and should we change that?
I can't see changing it, Dan, only because the town has theirs at 9:30 in the morning. That's even earlier than us.
Well, just because they jump in Black River doesn't mean I'm gonna.
No, but I just mean,
reason for that. No, that's dirt.
I gotta agree with you, Joe. You put, I agree with you because you put the notice out, if they wanna be here, they're here.
Most people work till 5. That's the only reason I bring it up. I've had people approach me on it, but
So do I.
so do I. I know.
You know, but I make the time. Like I said, if it's important, we notice, we put it out. It's not like we're, you know, not advertising when it is.
How about we do this? We leave it like this, but we survey the public sometime and ask them what they want, because they're our employee. We're employed by them. But with that being said, let's leave it at 4. But I think that it'd only be fair that we talk with the public. I can tell you, when we had it at 6 o'clock back in the 90s, in 2000, we'd have 4 or 5 or 6 people show up. And now we only have 2.
Joe doesn't count?
Joe's a liaison. No, he's a liaison.
all right. So can we have a motion on that?
I'll make the motion that we leave it the way it is.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Dan? Special meetings may be called by the mayor or by agreement of 2 trustees. Trustees will be notified individually by the village clerk. Notification to the public and media will be made as soon as possible after the scheduling of the meeting with a minimum of 72 hours notice if that time is available. Motion on that one.
I'll make a motion, we accept that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a few resolutions to adopt. 2024-4, advance approval of claims. Basically what that is we do have, I think National Grid is one of them, that their billing cycle falls and it doesn't line up with the way we pay bills. And so we end up, basically this gives clerks permission to go ahead and pay those bills so we don't have to incur any interest.
In lieu of an audit, yeah. And then they're audited at a later time.
I'll make a motion, we
Second.
approve that.
Second?
Dan seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next one is 2024-5, designation of depositories allowance. And the name of the institutions are Community Bank, N.A. State Street, Lowville, New York. Key Bank, N.A. Lowville, New York. J.P. Morgan Chase, Utica, or any other commercial bank authorized and licensed to do business in New York State.
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
– 2024-6, mileage allowance. Right now, for federal, it's 67 cents a mile.
I'll make a motion, we continue that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
2024-7, attendance at training. Basically what this says is, I hereby certify that at a meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lowville, a municipal corporation organized under the laws of the state of New York, duly called, a quorum being present, and held at the office of said corporation, 5535 Bostwick Street in the Village of Lowville, state of New York, on April 3rd, 2024, the following resolution was duly adopted and is now in full force and effect. Whereas there to be held during the coming official year, various training seminars, including the New York Conference of Mayors, NICOM Annual Meeting and Training School, NICOM Fall Training School, for fiscal officers and clerks, NICOM Public Works School, Tug Hill Local Government Conferences, and others. Whereas attendance by certain municipal officials and employees at one or more of these meetings, conferences, or schools benefits the municipality, therefore it be resolved that the Board of Trustees supports attendance at these training events for staff and officers, and the following are authorized to attend such events: Mayor, trustees, clerk, treasurer, deputy clerk, superintendent of public works, chief of police, and all other staff as approved by the board. And be it resolved that this resolution take effect immediately.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Rules of procedure are taxed. I think they're the same as have been other years.
Here, I'll make the motion for the rules.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then to set the date for our next organizational meeting, which it looks like it'll be Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. Approval of minutes from the March 20th, 24 regular board meeting.
I'll make a motion, we approve those minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of vouchers, we have none tonight. You're with food pantry, right?
I'm with construction design.
I mean,
Yes, regarding the food pantry building.
that wants to.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
did Cassandra have to leave, did she?
Yeah, she had an emergency.
Okay, basically what this is, basically what Cassandra got a hold of me, and they want to move forward on the food pantry building, and I believe they want to put 16 apartments in it.
Correct.
Do you have, I guess I'd let you stand and give us a,
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I'm Corbin Dykevick. I'm with Construction Design and Management out of Syracuse. We're a general contracting company, and we do development on site as well. Been a part of the last 4 downtown revitalization initiative projects. We have 3 of our own projects in those rounds. This time we're working with the county and the village here. Met with them regarding the old AMF building, the former food pantry building there on Trinity Ave. And we proposed a project as part of the DRI application to turn that into kind of a mixed-use building with market rate apartments and a small component of maybe a retail or other commercial service there on the first floor. So yeah, we're moving forward on a DRI proposal, and we are trying to team with the village as well to try and go after a Restore New York grant as well for that. So I know there was a few questions Cassandra said. Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, the one thing you mentioned in DRI,
Yeah.
that's out of the DRI program as far as I know.
Okay.
I mean, I was told when we got the DRI that, because originally
that particular property was considered what they called a 3 trees, which
Got it.
was part of the DRI project. And then the state came back and we had to shrink the boundaries.
Understood.
And they
yeah.
wanted it mainly downtown. And so that portion got taken out.
Okay.
So what I was getting from Cassandra was they're going to apply for a new grant, which is Restore New York for, I think it was $2 million.
Yes, yeah.
To restore, go towards restoring that building.
Okay. And I haven't had that conversation with her yet. It could very well be the case. Sounds like it may be. But yeah, regardless, I know you had a few questions.
And the concerns I had on it, only seeing some of the things that have happened on some of these other grants where they're supposed to restore some buildings. I wanted to know who the developer for the building was.
Of course, yeah.
And if that developer had already have the financing in place to be able to do a project that size. Because one thing I'm finding on the DRI is some of the people are having
Right.
trouble getting their financing to do the project.
Correct, yeah, that's a great question. Our company, CDM, we would be the developer on the project. In the purchase agreement, it is also assignable to another entity, which would be determined down the road in LLC. As far as financial backing, great question. You know, as I said, being a part of these DRI projects, we see a number of them drop off just for the financial reason. You know, I think they underestimate the cost of what some of these projects take to make happen. But we do have a wonderful relationship with a number of lenders that we work with. You know, we've had development projects from anywhere from $10 million to $50 million. Never had any issues of financial backing. So as far as capacity for finance, no problem at all.
You get bonding on a regular basis?
We do, yes.
And I did talk with Mike Hannell from the food pantry a little bit this morning. He was in my office and we went over a few things. And because one of my questions, and he said that, I guess you guys have given him a purchase offer now for the building?
Correct. Yep, we do.
Because that was one of my questions. Does any of you guys have a purchase agreement or some kind of a written agreement with the food pantry?
So we did present them with the purchase sale agreement a few weeks ago. Came back with a revised one, which we just presented to them last week. I know there's a few board members that are out of town at the moment. I spoke with Mike today also, and we just set up a meeting for Tuesday morning. It sounds like we're going to come back out and meet with them and just kind of try to iron out some of the wrinkles there. Everything sounds like, you know, they're very supportive of it. I know Mike's also presented a few options, which, you know, we're happy to work with them, accommodate any way we can. We just want to see win-win and a best case scenario for everyone. So
I know talking with him this morning, he'd like to redesign the driveway a little bit there. Was one of the things, so he could keep his building all back, I think.
correct. I don't think it would entail a redesign, just repurposing what's there really. And, you know, I think we said potentially that other parcel adjacent across the railroad tracks, if there was
He said he
need.
owns another plot back there.
Right, yep. So if there was a need from either ourselves or the food pantry, if they did decide to stay there on that parcel, you know, we would pitch in to pave part of that and make it overflow parking, so to say, over there. But yeah, we did talk about kind of mutual rights of way for the drive lanes there.
But if the project goes through,
Mhm.
you as a developer will be the ones that actually own the building, right? The food pantry will be totally out of it?
That's kind of what we're trying to figure out right now. We've presented them a few options. They're very open and receptive to pretty much anything, but again, we want to do whatever's easiest and best for them. So should they choose to stay on the
That's my
park?
question, is right now it's off the tax rolls, where if you guys take it over and put retail and apartments and things in there, I would assume it would be going back on the tax roll.
Correct.
My question was, I guess, if you say develop it for the food pantry, then it stays off the tax roll.
Yeah, because they're tax exempt, they're
How
not
would they-
nonprofit, whatever.
Understood, yes.
So, I mean, I'd want to see it
Right.
develop, but go back on the
So
tax
just to
roll.
give you an idea, I think the first proposal we presented would be a subdivision of that parcel. You know, they've also said maybe we buy the entire parcel and lease the building they're currently in back to them. The other would be, they said they would even be willing to maybe possibly relocate as well. So there's a few different options, but I think in all three scenarios off the top of my head, I think would put at least our portion of that parcel back onto the tax.
How would the food pantry run?
What's that?
How would the food pantry manage that? I
I
don't know.
wouldn't, that's the thing.
Well, certainly from my standpoint, from a taxpayer standpoint, I certainly would like to see it go on the tax roll.
Yeah, your intention is to buy the property, buy the building.
Correct, yes.
It's
That's
not
what
to-
Tim and I were wondering.
Yes, yep, we would buy the building.
That's one of my concerns.
And I mean-
If it stays,
It's going to, if they're able to buy the building and develop it the way they want, it's going to really fix that area of the village up. It's going to be a win-win situation. And I guess I have one more question, and is, like others, move this forward for Restore New York. We got to do a bunch of publications in the newspaper, have public hearings and things. And there will be things that come up, because they've come up on some of the other projects, where we've had to have our attorney review the literature and different agreements and things before we, matter of fact, we just had one the last board meeting where we had to do a resolution and our attorney had to put everything together for us. So my question there is, there's costs involved in all this. Is the developer willing to cover any advertising or attorney fees that the village might incur for this project? Because I don't feel the average resident, especially when they're going after money from the state, should have to pay these fees.
And we totally agree with you, absolutely. We've done a handful of these Restore New York applications before. You know, we're more than happy to cover any advertising fees associated. We never had to get an attorney involved, but of course, if that is the case, happy to cover any cost for that as well.
Well, the only time we get attorney involved is if
Just
there's
kinda-
agreements. And like
Right.
we had, there's been agreements with one Restore New York project where it was basically a contract with the state of New York and with the person that was doing the project. And to protect the village, we had our attorneys review it before
Absolutely.
he signed off on
Does your
it. So it's just stuff like that.
Does your company have an attorney that you normally use?
We do. We've never had to use any for the Restore app, but certainly, again, if there is, and there's, you know, a village attorney or somebody you work with, we're more than happy to accommodate. So absolutely, financially, we will cover the cost of those. Mhm.
They were basically my questions. Does any other board members have any questions for each other?
I think you covered it well, Joe, from my perspective.
Because from what I'm getting from Cassandra, if we want to move forward with this project, tonight we would need to set a public hearing for this project for Wednesday, April 17th, for our next board meeting. And then that has to be advertised in the local newspaper. It's got to be advertised by the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, according to the state. It has to be done 3 different days. Then we'd hold a public hearing on the 17th. And then we also got to do a resolution, but she said she would put that resolution together.
On the 17th, we gotta do a resolution, right?
Yeah, after we advertise.
The public hearing would have to be on the 17th.
Right.
Can I ask a question on a public hearing, Joe? Are we gonna have some parameters as to what that's gonna say? I mean, we've heard it all, but what is the public hearing?
Well, I think Cassandra would probably come and, or even you,
Correct,
want to
yeah.
give, in case public had questions on it.
Yeah, I'm more than happy with that, absolutely.
But at this point in time, isn't there some unanswered questions? Who's gonna own the property? Who you know, that's my concern.
Well, was mine.
And
just answered.
Well, do you think they could?
well,
be
you
answered
didn't,
at the public
Tony,
hearing?
because we don't know who's gonna own it yet. I mean, we need to have a concrete public hearing, that's what I'm saying.
Well, talking with Mike this morning, he basically told me that he's just got to convince his board to accept
Their offer.
that he got the purchase offer, and that he thinks it's a fair offer, and he's just got to convince his board to go along.
Joe, will the project go on even if you don't get the grant, or are you hinging that you have to get the grant to
That's a
move the
good
project
question.
along?
It's certainly a big puzzle piece for us, so it's very helpful to make these kind of projects work. But regardless if it does come to fruition or not, you know, we will still try to figure out a way to make it happen.
Because either way, you're planning on purchasing the build, say that's the route it goes,
Mm-hmm.
you would do that before the grant you ever knew if you were getting the grant or not, right? Probably?
Correct, yep.
So,
But the information I got from Cassandra on the resolution is, she said at the April 17th village meeting, you will hold a public hearing and adopt a formal resolution approving the application. This is so they can go ahead and send the application into the state of New York. It says there needs to be specific language within that resolution, so I will work on that over the next few weeks while the project is further developed. And that's what I got from Cassandra, and she probably would have told the same if she hadn't had to leave tonight. But and they know what has to be in those resolutions because they've done it before up there for other projects, not only for Lowville but Lyons Falls. And I think they did a project for.
Tug Hill Roasters is part of that too, Restore New York.
So she's familiar with the language and everything that's got to go into that. But all this has got to get done by the 17th, so she can go ahead and put in for the grant.
So the way it sounds, you'll have more of a concrete answer next Tuesday.
Correct, yeah.
And meet with them again.
Absolutely.
I think that's important for the public hearing, because my favorite saying is lack of planning doesn't constitute mercy on our part, but what you may be able to put the pieces into place
Right.
that it's gonna make it, the public hearing that much easier.
Agreed. Yeah.
Do you have a concept, like drawing or anything for the building, or
The
just
only one
going
we
by
have right
what-
now is Lowville had done it for the DRI.
Right, for the DRI.
But, we think that's a fantastic rendering they did, so I imagine we would probably try to do something to kind of mirror that.
I know Cassandra told me they're looking at 16 apartments in the building.
Correct, yeah.
Now, they're also going to be retail in it too?
That
Or
would be
business?
our hope and intention would be to do some kind of retail up front of the building there.
On the ground floor, you're saying?
Correct, yep.
So you just said you'd cover the cost of advertising, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And attorney's fees.
What do you think the project would cost? Is $2 million a reasonable estimate, or?
Our estimates, just based on, past projects in the last year, we would think probably north of 6 million, maybe somewhere 6.5 million total.
Anybody have any other questions for this gentleman?
You would have a card you could leave with us?
I do, yeah, I actually have a bunch of them. Pass them around for you.
That's a good business plan.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sometimes questions come up.
Absolutely,
We got
feel
a
free to
phone
reach
number
out.
and call.
Yep, got my cell phone on there, email.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Very well.
You want to fire chief?
That's one might have been captured.
That's all right. Fire chief, we want to have you on speed dial.
Absolutely.
You were at the meeting a couple weeks ago, right?
I was not, no, I was out of town that week. That would be Chris that was.
Chris, okay.
At the meeting, Chris and JT.
Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right,
Well, that
I
was
remember them saying Corey was out of town.
Yes, yeah.
right.
Anybody have any other questions? So I guess the only other thing was we would need a motion to move forward because Brittany's got to be able to get this stuff in the newspaper.
I'll make a motion that we have the public hearing on April 17th at 4 o'clock.
And I'll second that.
And move forward with all the advertising we need to do. Okay, I'll let Cassandra know we're going to move forward with that. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
What?
Is the public hearing still open? Is the public hearing still open for the budget?
Yep.
Yeah.
Question. I attend this meeting, the next day I go to the town meeting. Supervisor Mullen at the meeting puts out to the board, and I'm usually out, myself and Mickey Dietrich are usually in the audience. He puts out the percentage rate that their reserve money they have in the bank with Community Bank at the rate they're getting, which is far superior to what we've gotten before. You never mentioned.
My rate right now is 5.35.
You never mentioned that at the meeting. Could you put that in your agenda to mention it in the future? So when the people watch it on Lincoln Lewis County, they can see that you're getting some money back out of it because, they want to, you're spending all this money, like Judge DeFone said, spending all this money. How is that affecting him?
What's that, Nick? I didn't hear the last part, I'm sorry.
Just if you can explain.
That's what I just said to you.
Yeah.
When I said to him, I said, we made 40,000.
Yeah, but he'd like us to bring it up.
Every meeting.
At the meeting.
Every meeting.
As a regular financial statement.
As an input, just throw it out there for me and Judge DeFone.
That's a fair request.
The only reason I make that statement is I like
They have a
The
right
taxpayers, I like the taxpayers to know that finally we're making some money on their money.
Yeah.
And this is how we create our fund balances and move forward with our projects.
Well, that's why we moved stuff around, because we weren't making anything, and now we're starting to make
Yes,
something.
yeah.
Do you have anything else you want on us, Cory?
No, that's all I had.
We're good to go.
Good.
Thank you.
And I'll let Cassandra know we're going to move forward. so.
Okay, perfect. Appreciate it.
Okay. Anything else, Henry?
No, that's all I had a question for.
Restore New York Food Pantry was good.
Yep.
New business.
New business, okay. Municipal Board, Mike Comet resigned from the Municipal Board. Dennis Krieger was an alternate.
Dennis Bishop.
Dennis Bishop was an alternate. Bishop's gonna move up into Mike's place, and he'll fill out Mike's place, which is good till 12/31/2024. And then for an alternate, Pete Saccani will take the alternate spot, and that is good till 12/31/2024. So we need a motion to
I'll make a motion, we make those appointments.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Housing Authority, missed this one last month,
He was the fire department.
but no, I'm going back there, I'll go back there.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Tim Woodrick was up March 31st for the Housing Authority. Tim wants another 4-year stunt, so
He does?
we're going to appoint him to 3/31/2028.
Wow, that's looking all long.
I'll make a motion that we make that appointment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
It's his turn under the bus,
When's
Bob.
the last time they've met? Do you ever meet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Joe told me when I took it, they only meet once a year, and then all of a sudden it was 6 times a year.
Well, you guys changed
Now it's
it.
4 times a year.
You guys changed
I didn't
it.
change it. So it's 4 times, every quarter.
Okay, going back to the fire department appointments, everybody get a copy of, basically, Lowville Fire Department held its annual meeting and elections of officers, that all officers remain the same as the previous year following the vote by the membership. The following officers who are voted on by the membership: President Dave Egan, Vice President Benjamin Leindecker, Treasurer Brian Hannell, Secretary Kyle Pendergraft, Financial Secretary Neil Smithley, Fire Chief Joe Austin, First Assistant Chief Andrew Chrisman, Second Assistant Chief Gerald Norris, the second, Third Assistant Chief Anthony Martin. The Board of Directors voted into the 3-year terms: Donald Krieger, 1 year remaining of 3-year term, not voted on this year. Joe Zaire, 2 year remaining of 3-year term, not voted on this year. Craig Rousman, 3 years remaining of 3-year term, voted on April 1st, 2024.
Mayor, when you started that, you said everybody remained the same. Did you say everybody remained the same? Because there were some changes.
Well, yeah, it's in the
written.
letter, it does say everyone remained the same except for, and then it lists
Okay.
the 3 positions, so.
Thank you.
So we just need a motion to accept
I'll
all
make
the
that
members.
Go ahead. I'll second.
Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Solar eclipse, I guess you were gonna talk a bit about that?
That's the only thing I have is, so we have 6 officers that'll be working, probably late morning, they're gonna come in, and we're basically playing it by ear. We're lots of unknowns. Last count, the event at the fairgrounds, they have 1,000 people that RSVP'd already. So, and they're busing kids up from Middleburg down by the city. So what's that? I'm sorry. I talked to the sheriff today. He's got 4 extra deputies on today, but they have their own stuff to worry about too throughout the county. And I talked to Sergeant Wolf from SP Lowville, and they basically have everyone working, but they're going to be scattered too. But I think we'll be okay. We have, like I said, 6 guys with 4 vehicles, so we'll deal with it as we can.
Got any glasses?
No.
Got some?
We got
Sure.
Go to the library, they should have some.
some extra
Yeah.
She bought a bunch of
I didn't even get them.
50 of them or something.
And what are
See what
you,
I can do.
Joe, what are you doing with the office help in your highway department?
Doing the what?
Work.
Office help in the highway department?
I discussed that with the personnel committee, and I was hoping that we would have a decision on that. If we were able to take a half day, get out at 11:30, so we're able to travel to our viewing destinations and enjoy the eclipse. No, we did not.
I'll make a motion that all non-essential staff can be dismissed at 11:30 to view it at their pleasure.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Oh, yeah, I don't get it. Sure, you can.
No, it don't work for the right government.
I don't work for the right government, you're right.
We're calling her off.
You're right, I don't work for the right government.
Good enough, Bob? Good enough? Good enough?
Okay, correspondence, basically it's,
Said non-essential.
Since we talked the other day.
basically from the New York State Controller. It's a fiscal stress score that we get every year. Basically, our environmental stress designation is 23.3, which is down because in 2022 it was 30.0. 2021 it was 26.7. So we're doing well on environmental stress designation. And basically it says everything's successful, no designation. Fiscal stress. For 2023, we're 1.7. 2022, we were 0.0. 2021, we're 0.0. There's no designation on that. We're still in good shape. But the reason it's 1.7 and not 0 is because we've done so many projects. We've got all those large bonds we're paying off now that we weren't paying off back in 22 and 21.
Mayor, I didn't get a chance. I apologize, my fault. I want to go back to new business with something that isn't on it. I should have requested of Brittany. I had one of our constituents ask us, and I think it's a reasonable request, I think I've discussed it briefly with you, that they would like to have a couple of open sessions on the DRI grant so they can learn more about it. There was, he said, 2 businesses within the footprint that were concerned about how it was going to be handled. And I said, well, can I ask who they are? Not that I would. And he said, no. I said, well, eventually, if they want to be a part of it and they're in the footprint, they're certainly going to have to come forward. And my thought is, I can't think of her name now, our director out of Clayton that's running this.
Connie Pack.
Thank you, Connie Pack, I remember the last name. Could explain it, we could have a couple of, and they'd like to see it in the evening session, and so the people could come in and we kind of give them a statement and like that. I reassured them that the meetings that we have are open to the public. So that part, anybody that wants to come, the way I understood it, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe or Tim, could come. I think transparency to certain people is become very, very important. So I think that's a fair request.
I agree with you, Dan, but right now, basically our hands are tied on this. There's nothing the village can do. Because I just talked to Kylie yesterday morning, Pat, about this, because you were at the meeting when she was there and she said we'd be hearing something in April. Basically until the state of New York gets back to us and tells us who the consultant's going to be that they're going to be supplying, there's not much we can do.
I understand that, Joe.
Because she also, if you remember at that meeting, there's a whole manual that they go by. And she was working on the DRI from number 6. She says every year they do a different booklet on how they want things done. And the state didn't even have to her yet the one for number 7.
And I think that she could give some generic, I believe, granted, everything constantly changes, and anybody in the public that's interested can go on our website and see what was submitted, understanding that it has to be resubmitted, and anybody that's in the footprint that thinks they want to be involved needs to develop their plan.
They'll still take applications.
Yeah.
They're looking for anywhere from 13 to $15 million in projects, and then they'll narrow it down from there. So I mean, anybody that's got a project, all they gotta do is turn it in.
Yeah, and I believe she said that there was gonna be a whole lot of public outreach right from the start, so, you know, there should be enough information put out, like the mayor said. Once they get it started, her hands are tied right now, and so are ours, because.
And everything, and Kylie did say, were you at that meeting? That everything's open to the public, so like Henry and Rick, any of them want to come to the meeting, they're more than welcome to come.
And anybody that's interested in submitting something, my thought is certainly they can let Cassandra know, and she can, when she comes to the meeting, give a report that says who else is interested.
All they would need, Dan, is they just need to put together their project. I'm not saying, I don't believe they need engineering reports or anything, but they just, I want to renovate this building. This is how much I estimate it's going to cost. This is how much I would like to request from the DRI project. That's all they need right now.
And I guess in fairness to the system, or the process, they could use the ones that are already on the internet as a boilerplate to help them. So I have a discussion with that person and certainly tell them that, you know, it's going to be very open and very transparent, and Kylie's going to be at all the meetings, and you know, the process is fine. It's going to end up being determined by the state as to who gets what.
In the local planning committee.
Yeah. We determine what we want to be sent to the state, but my feeling is if it's a viable project, bar none, it should be turned over to the state for them to make a decision. Okay.
Did we close the public hearing yet? Did we close the public hearing yet?
No.
No, so you haven't.
Do you want to? Okay.
Very well, well, actually. Okay, officer committee, the village attorney's not here. I don't have much, just, I know at the last meeting, I said they hooked up our 2 last LED lights, and National Grid did get around and get them energized, so they're actually working now. Still waiting for the bill from New York Power Authority. All I get from them is they're working on it. Because I would like to close the program totally out. Clerk Treasurer, do you have anything?
Nothing.
Chief of Police, anything more? Nope. Superintendent sick, capital future planning?
Yes. At the last meeting, Mr. Dines gave us a list of the equipment in the year, and it's obvious that we have to be able to plan into the future and lay this out based on Mr. Phone's questions tonight. And it's my intention with Tony, I would like to see us in the very near future, not only develop a capital plan for equipment as we're going down the road, the infrastructure, what we're looking at and what we need to do. It's going to be tough to gauge that from a cost standpoint, certainly, because as you move forward, things are going to change, but at least we could have a ballpark figure on all of those, because a lot of that's what, not all of it, but other than health insurance, that's what in our budget this year. When in the near future, I'm going to get that list back to Paul, so that we can get an estimate on what the capital equipment we have would cost in the future, to the best of our knowledge, the age of the equipment, and that would hold true for Darrell too with the police department. The office certainly has some capital equipment they're going to need, but the main thing is the infrastructure. So with that, that's my report at this point in time, Mayor, unless Tony has something he wants to say.
No,
okay.
I'm good. You got it covered.
Court tonight? No.
Third. Anybody have anything on personnel?
Yeah, I'd like to request executive session to discuss.
Contract, right?
Well, that and some changes in benefits for non-contract employees, basically.
Okay.
Finance, anything?
No.
Liaisons, fire department.
No, I will tell you that we had pretty much of a, I would say, a mundane meeting. Fire department, I think, is doing well. They've had a lot of fundraisers. They're to be applauded for that, because if not for that, we would be looking at even having to raise more money. And when they do that, they're doing that not just for the village of Lowville, but for every town that they contract to. And I get ornery when a community wants to nail them for $2,000 or $3,000 a raise. I don't think in the past year we've had that issue. I think everybody's been pretty reasonable. And I think the former staff, because we've got some changes, and the elected staff, Craig Rowsome did a marvelous job as a president. Joe Austin is a very fine fire chief, and the executive board that they have, Brian Hanno's the treasurer, and Mr. I'm trying to think of the secretary's name, that outgoing secretary, Carl Golis. They're all very professional, and I've enjoyed working with them. So we're very lucky community to have the Lowville Village Fire Department.
Plus the chicken's good.
The chicken is very good. The spaghetti was good.
We get it in.
And the pancakes were good.
Do you have anything from the police department?
I don't know, do you want to say anything about the new employee, Shane, there? What he's doing?
So he started Monday full time. He's working 3 days a week right now until he gets out of school, which is 2 more weeks, and then he'll start his phase 2 May 13th for 2 weeks, and then he'll be full time with us, starting his field training hours, 160 hours, June 4th. It's like a Wednesday. So we anticipate him getting through that with no problems, and he will be on the street full time by fair.
Planning is only board, anything? Nope, nothing. Municipal board,
No, you already mentioned it. Yep.
town, nothing. County, anything?
I attended their meeting last night, and I don't know if there's a whole lot to report.
Health insurance.
Well,
I watched it too on right there
That's-
at home, so.
that's it. It's a tough issue, and hopefully they can bring that into control some, as maybe we can too, because it's very frightening stuff. So other than that, I don't have anything to report for the county.
Recreation, I hope next week to have the final costs and estimate for the summer rec program this year. Talking with Mike, he got back to Bob and I and said he was hoping to have it to us next week. So then we can discuss that at the April 17th meeting.
And one of the things that we hope to do is get the rec board a little more active.
And you're hoping by your next meeting also to have the totals on the winter rec too, aren't you? Or no?
I'm not sure quite what he was wanting to work on. The way I understood his email, he's working on grants for summer rec again.
Yes, but will the
And then he wanted to do something on, for the winter rec too. That's why I gave him numbers that we had for our winter rec. He's got all the numbers that we had budgeted for winter rec, for the skating.
But do we have the finals yet on the winter rec or no?
No,
Not yet?
we don't, because
Okay.
we're still waiting on the Ag Society to get us the bill for the electric and
Yep.
everything over there.
Okay.
As soon as we get that, we'll be able, because, actually, Brittany and I were talking about that this week.
Okay.
We couldn't
No,
put it
I'm just
together.
curious on that, Joe.
No, that's the holdup, we're just waiting for that bill from
Yep.
them.
Okay.
Rachel, Tim or Chuck, got anything on that?
We attended the Economic
Visioning.
Visioning Summit on Friday.
Last Friday.
Henry was there, Bob was there.
Yeah.
It was actually a very good, a lot of good speakers. Actually, Cassandra was there talking about the DRI. She gave a presentation on that. But yeah, it was well worth the attendance, I thought.
Yeah, it was good.
I did have one question though. I wanted to ask, when they were talking about the Denmark solar panels on the top of the building, how the supervisor was against it. I kind of want to ask the question, why, why was he against it? But I didn't ask it.
The highway superintendent.
Yeah. Was against it, why? We should have asked
There's
it.
a long story there.
That's an internal thing.
Yeah, that's another day's talk.
Okay.
You want to throw somebody under the bus, don't you?
No, not really. I should have asked the question when we were there and I didn't.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, Chuck, but I kind of knew.
Okay, can we have a motion to close the public hearing on the budget?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any public comment tonight?
I don't know, I might have missed it when I stepped out. Did you forward the annual report to them?
I was gonna put that on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay,
I
never
didn't
mind.
get that in time.
Next meeting you'll have my annual report, 'cause I sent it to Brittany late this afternoon, so. But it's nothing, it's just my annual report I submit to the department every year. The only other thing to note, our fire department phone number, we decided to upgrade, our internet finally, because we were still in the dark ages for internet, so we had an old Time Warner internet system. We upgraded to, I mean, it's still Spectrum, but now it's a Spectrum one, better internet. However, it had to come with a new phone number, so we did have to change our phone number. They weren't able to transfer it because it was an old Time Warner number, Frontier number, something. But so the new phone number for the fire department is 315-377-4460, and that's the non-emergency number. So don't call that if you have an emergency. Call 911. We also got rid of our fax line to save on costs there because we didn't use the fax going out, and the faxes we got in were all junk, so we decided to just switch to using our email primarily. So we do the fire department email, just so the public knows, as well as lowvillefire@gmail.com. So if anyone does need to get a hold of us. That was it.
Anybody else?
We vote on the budget on the 17th, correct? Just wanted to
That
make
way
sure we
people
do.
can kick things around yet if they want to. They got a little over a week. Okay, we need a motion to go in executive session now.
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session.
A second.
All in favor?
For what purpose?
To
Personnel.
discuss, yeah, some non-contractual employee benefits.